Hello. I'm back from getting food. It is time to do some more programming. See if my face camera is doing. I need to keep changing the exposure and stuff on this to compensate for having a big window here that is throwing my settings off. Anna Banana 007. That is a username if I've ever seen one. Welcome to the chat. So I'm not exactly sure what we are going to do next. I have this little snaky fella right here. One thing that I have noticed is that if I, at runtime, like these controls, this is workable. But if I change something here, like put that to 6 and then put it back to 5, the controls get super duper sluggish, which means that something is not applied correctly either when the settings change or when everything's created. So I can only assume that it's related to this. Bodies, get components in children. I think I know what it might be. So snake head. Oops. I'm gonna turn on the bounce again. Can't escape. There is no escaping the physics box. So yeah, the head should have a mass of 5, but I have a sneaking suspicion that if I change this, yeah, that's it. Let me change so you can see what's going on. So here, I start everything. Nice and smooth. But if I change the head mass, which is not actually applied at runtime, it's only applied when everything starts up. But if I change this to 6, it runs the function that validates everything, and that function also sets the properties of all the child objects. But that function isn't really working correctly because it's setting the mass of the head to 0.1, when it really should be 5. So if I change that back, the physics sort of return to their former glory. So what I'll do is that I'll just add this in at the end here. So I think the next thing I should body, okay. The compiler is having opinions about my code again. This is a thing that happens. Pepperball is pointing it out in the chat when you put your stream to to sleep or whatever, and people just leave it on in the background, and then I come back and start talking, and everyone gets freaked out because suddenly someone's talking over their other thing they were doing. Body has not been assigned. That's because it's not body. It is because it is totally body. What do you mean it hasn't been assigned? Oh. I'll do this. That should be fine. Yep, seems fine. Pepperball is asking, what if I set a minimum of the sideways force in order to be applied? That is something I can try. I can also look at the forces involved, which is probably a good idea, and see like what's a high as compared to like a typical sideways force. Looks pretty cool with the forces rendered out like that. Hello, Dimitri. There is a Mojang going on. This is entirely correct. I'm thinking of a clever way to find the sideways force. I could just dump a bunch of it into the output and do some kind of average on that or something. But honestly, like it's entirely acceptable the way it is right now. And I think I'd rather think about the controls for a little bit, because right now the if I want to go up, I press up. If I want to go down, I press down. Meaning I can press straight up, and now I start pressing down, and just applies a force to the head, pushing the head down. Which is a little bit strange of a way to control something. So I'm thinking more there should be a turning thing. I have my trusty controller here. I don't know if this will work in Unity if I just plug it in. Would. That's nice. So maybe it would make more sense to have like an accelerator, have more like car style steering, Hello, short retro gamer. I never thought that I'd be watching someone program for my leisure live on Twitch. Here we are. I mean, I'm not even programming right now. I'm just eating nuts. Which is also a form of entertainment, I'm sure. Tank controls. Nicolazze is suggesting tank controls. Yeah, that's left and right turns and move in the direction you're facing. That is what I had in mind. So I'm thinking, I'll bring up here's the controller. So just the left stick for turning, and like the trigger on either side for accelerating, maybe. And then you have the face buttons free for other stuff. So that's what I'm thinking of doing right now. Let's see if probably going to need to hook up the shoulder button or like the trigger somehow. Or I could just remap the horizontal axis. Maybe that makes more sense. Just have that be just disregard up and down on the actual stick. Maybe that makes more sense. Vertical. Okay. I'm gonna remember the numbering of the axis. This tells me nothing. Vertical, joystick, X, Y. That's the one. Mogashi is asking, what if each segment follows the head's path? That's kind of what's happening already. But not in the sense, like if this was a 16-bit platformer, say Yoshi's Island, and you're Yoshi running around with eggs following you, which is kind of a snake, kind of. Like imagine drawing a line between all the eggs. That's exactly how they've made it. The eggs just use the position you had N time ago, but that does not allow me to like crash into things and have like this, the thing I can do if I drive into a wall, boom, and have the rest of my body just like piling up on me, kind of like that thing wouldn't really work. If I just use the head's position, it would just be this rigid following of where my head was. So it works in a way, it also does not work. So now I remapped, so the up and down and the stick on the joystick does nothing. It's these two axes now. which is transparent to the actual game. We just need to change the way this works. So this now is just a world vector. So if I press sideways, the head will go. If I press right, the head will go like east always. What I'm going to do instead is that I'm going to so it's slightly problematic due to the way it's set up right now. See if I can explain this. So the head is a single circle, and the segments following that are these rectangles with a circle on them, and then there's another rectangle that has another circle, and then another rectangle with another circle, and so on. So the way it works right now is that if I press up, it will apply a force on this object right here upwards, and that pulls everything along with it. What I want to do now instead is that if I press like left, I want the head to turn left. So that's going to be relative to the way you're facing instead of just absolute in the world sense. But I think just applying the force on this point right here might get a little bit hairy. We'll see. So pressing left will be a force going that way always now. That's the idea. So if like the entire thing was to turn, oops, the force would still be applied in the same internal direction. That's what we're going for. So we'll try. There's a few tricks you can do. I need to clean this up also at some point, but not now. So this is going to be input. I'm going to transform that to be in the local space instead. So we're going to transform inverse transform vector, a vector from world space to local space. That's wrong. I want to go from local space to world space. And we can render these. That'll be fun. For Pepperball is asking if I have an analog input. Yes, probably. Like I'm gonna try and make this playable on the keyboard as well. So. I'm not super worried about the analog inputs, but yeah, it's going to work either way. So now I want to draw a ray from the position, which is the position of the head. And then I want to use the input vector, and we'll make this red. And then we'll transform that and we'll draw it again and we'll make it green, maybe. Sorry, colorblind people. And we can see what the difference is. So right now there's no difference whatsoever, but if because I'm like when the snake is in that position, the coordinate spaces of the world and the snake are lined up, so there's no real difference. But if I go up slightly, you can see that the green and the red vectors are different. So if I press right on the controller, you can see there's a green ray that's coming out of actually the left side of the, so I need to flip that. The red one is always pointing either left or right, but the green one is going all over the place. I think also the head is like spinning freely, which is very much a problem, I realize now. Didn't think of that. Because it kind of should be the other way around. So I'll show you what's going on here. Back to Photoshop. So the head is, see, it's just the one circle, right? So these are all attached here. But the red thing here, it's only attached in one spot. So this can rotate freely, which is not good. That's not what we want. So I'll see if there's an easy way to fix that. I suppose I have these. Okay, that worked really well. So what I just did was this joint right here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, this joint right here has a bunch of properties in Unity. Run the game. So this is the head part. Like it's this. I can't really move stuff away from it, but it's a single sphere or a single circle. And this segment right here that is actually lit up attaches to it. So with a joint, and this joint can rotate freely, or the objects can rotate freely in relation to each other. So it's like a bike wheel, basically, just attached to the center. But there's a thing called an angle limit on the joint, which I can set to be between 0 and 0, which locks that rotation, so they can't rotate in relation to each other, which seemed to work really well. So that's what I intend to do. I'm gonna do it like this. So if I is 0, you know, this is the first segment, and then we can go hinge. What do they call it? Limits. Use limits, true, hinge. Okay. See if I can just set up the prefab to be from 0 to 0. and have it work that way. And then I don't have to deal with that. Seems I cannot do it that way. What if I can do this? This is gonna break everything forever, but it'll be fun. I'm confused. That broke much less than I thought it would. Oh, I get it. So the, I don't know if you can see this, but the green line that's coming out of the head is pointing like forwards and backwards as related to the head of the snake. But I'm pressing left and right, so I need to flip those. And I could rotate the vector, but I can also just swap these two over. And that should give me something. Now up and down are swapped, so I'll do that. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if left and right were swapped too. They're not, so that's good. Now you can see if I press left, there's a green line coming out of the left-hand side of the snake's head. And it keeps pointing to the left-hand side of the snake. And if I press right, there's a green line coming out of the right-hand side of the snake. Well, that's all good. What's going on here? The controls actually feel a lot like they make a lot more sense already. One thing that's slightly confusing to me is the fact that you move so much forward when you're turning. But I think that's in part due to the sideways velocity canceling stuff. So just try and turn that off, see what happens. Okay. I think the turn radius is partly messed up by the fact that the snake itself can't turn super sharply. Make the segments slightly longer, twice as long, and the snake. Okay, what did I do now? Right, length and width, confusing terms. there you go, 0.1 and 0.2. That was the original setting. I don't know how I broke that. I think that's part of it. So the other thing I'm going to do is, instead of draw again. So right now I'm applying a force right here, which is making that kind of, it's not really turning, it's just moving sideways kind of, which makes it kind of a wide turn. So what I can do is I can move like artificially move the point of this force further out to like exaggerate that turning motion. I'm going to try that, see where we end up. I'll make it a vector 2. Just not that I want to offset it sideways, but Pepperball is asking what would happen if I apply torque instead of force to turn. That is maybe something I could do. It gets really dependent on the length of the segment, I think. But it might work. Or some combination thereof, but it's kind of what I'm doing. If I extend the point where I'm like applying the force, it is moving it from being just a force to be torque, but it's also giving me leverage. So I can balance the two. So instead of add force, we can add force, add position, and at a given position in space. Beautiful. So I'm going to need to get the world position of where well, it's a sphere, so actually center of mass it's probably going to be just 0, 0, 0, but whatever. Plus the steer point offset. Actually, I'm going to move this up so I can draw the ray from that position instead, so I can see what's going on. And then first one's the force, second one is the position. I don't know if that's right, but we'll just try it, see where we end up. I do want to change back the length of the segments because I really like the way that worked. Backwards, forwards, left, right. So you are viewing, yeah. So this right here is probably, that's not the one I wanted to change. It's a little bit too much. I don't even know which direction is too much. It's just too much. And now it's actually applying the force behind the head, so that needs to be a negative number and probably even smaller still, like 0.1. And now it's much, much spinnier, and you can, it's a little bit tricky to see, but oh, of course. It stops drawing the line, but you can see that it's, instead of having the line be, actually if I go to the corner, you can probably see it better. You can see that it's extending from like the perimeter of the circle, which is just like a coincidence, instead of where it's normally at, which would be the center of the circle. It's a little bit hard to tell because it's green on green, but it starts at the center instead. So if we put this at like minus 0.05 or something like that, see what that feels like. It's weird. Let me put it that way. I think but it's kind of drifty and nice. I like it. And this is much, much more like applying torque. You can probably turn that down to half. It's surprising how much of a difference that makes, but a little bit of leverage apparently goes a long way. Somehow you still don't need to actually accelerate to go forward, but I think I can do something about that as well. It's nice, smooth. What did I set it to? Minus 0.025, I think. Yeah, that seems about right. I'm also a little bit curious about clamping the sideways force.
The snap will be on it.
I've been informed that it's snowing. That's weird. Yeah, it's Pepperball says that it's all like roller skating or ice skating, which is applying sideways force to go forward. It ends up being that way, yeah, because and I suppose that's kind of the way a snake does things as well. Like I'm not super familiar with how a snake moves forward, but I'm thinking like that snaking motion is sideways force converted to like forward momentum, kinda, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. But what I'm thinking is that I'll just hack it so that if you are not pressing forward, it will make every segment move forward less. Because the snaking motion is cool, but it also makes the actual forward key kind of pointless. Which I guess is something, but I don't want to. I'm fine with weird controls, I just don't want super weird controls, I guess. Better steering. Commit message. So, did I set the head mass to 10? When did I do that? It used to be 5 before. Doesn't make huge difference. I don't know if I said hi, Fire Drake. Hello in the chat. Nice to see you. What framework am I using? Unity. It is Unity. And yeah, the controls do very much depend on what kind of controller you hook up. I'm hoping for this to work with the keyboard as well as like a gamepad. Although, if it was going to be on mobile, having just 2 buttons would be kind of cool. But we're not there yet. So I have this function here called get lateral velocity. Can be made static. Okay. Sure. How am I liking Unity compared to ActionScript Haxi? It's in many ways it's the same. What I like about Unity a little bit more maybe is that it's much more popular, which is being the kind of person I am. I tend to prefer things that other people don't like, just out of being like a contrarian, I guess. But for framework purposes, it's pretty useful to have other people use the thing you're using. If I attach a line wobbler stick to it with a less strong spring and hold this left-right physics, that'd be awesome. I don't think custom controls is really a place we are at the moment, but for the future, yeah, sure. I'd be fine with just a snake, like a puppet snake on a joystick. Or like one of those muscle trainer bender things. It's just a spring. So you have to go to go forward. What now? Right. This is what I was doing. The lateral velocity. I want to do the same thing for... What's the opposite of lateral? I ask. Forward, I suppose. If that's up, then forward's like left, right. That'd be practical if that was true. So I can get the forward velocity. Well, let's just try rendering that on every segment and we will see. That seems to be about right. So my thinking is that if you are not pressing forward, I will break you or break every segment's velocity according to, or like clamp them or something. To make you stop when you're not pressing forward. If that makes sense. I'm also thinking I should probably split the turning and the acceleration to be two separate things. So we'll do that first. So let's rename this steer input. And that will only consider the horizontal axis. And then this can go up here. Then we'll have a accelerator input, which is going to be that, and then I can scale them separately. I'll make another one here called accelerator power. And we'll make that slightly weaker because that is plenty fast enough already. I would do the exact same thing to that. And then we can render both of these separately, which is cool. And we'll steer first and accelerate after, just because we have to do it in some order. Those lines are quite substantial, so I think we'll just scale them down for the rendering so we can see them. Cool. Maybe I should not be doing it that way though. Maybe it's smarter to do that when I am applying that's probably smarter. Come on. I have this giant microphone right above my keyboard, so I can't really see the keyboard, which normally is not a problem, but sometimes it is. You'd think after using a computer every day for the past, 20 something years that I know where the keys are on a keyboard. You'd be wrong. So it still works the exact same way. Lots of lines and stuff. The major difference here is that now the accelerator input is it's not actually. I thought I could just use that straight up, but I can't because it's a world space. I can use the magnitude of the accelerator input though, because I need something to tell me if you are trying to go forward or not. Yeah. There's something funky going on the street outside. Two dudes arguing. It's probably nothing. In a figurative sense, explode, not literal. Let's just try something. So one called public float break force multiplier. We'll make that like 0.1. If we are not accelerating, well, we could just move it into that function. That makes sense. We can do that first. If we are accelerating, we don't want to do anything. And we have a forward cancel impulse, which is going to be very much the same. What are you doing? Get forward velocity. Thank you. Brake force multiplier. And then body, add force, add position, some forward cancel impulse, body, world, center of mass. See what this does. Funny, it's actually bouncing, like springy bouncing. It's bouncing more going backwards, which is interesting. Anywho, brake force multiplier, let's crank that all the way up. I am accelerating and I'm letting go, and it's going the wrong way. Right, because it's already being multiplied to be negative right there. So that makes sense. Going forward. And now I'm accelerating, so I'm moving and I let go. And nothing really happens. It just keeps going. Set this to slightly below 1. That seems to be working pretty well. So now I'm accelerating. You can see I don't know, let me turn off those. Something's going on. Hang on while I answer my phone. Sorry about that. I'm back. Sorry for scaring you by coming back, but here we are. I had a phone call. Phone call has been dealt with. What were we doing? I was turning off the rays so we could see the input visualization a little bit better. hoping this is showing up okay in the stream. I think it is. You can see the green thing, and you can see when I let go, nothing happens now because it's reset itself. Break force multiplier, let's put it to 2. I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna, what that's gonna do. Nothing, it seems. Let's put it to like something that I expect would be working. I really should be doing this with the controller because the controller works regardless of which window I have focused. I'm not entirely convinced that the way I locked the rotation of the head is a smart way of doing that, but we shall see. Because this like seems slightly off center to me sometimes, but when I zoom in, it actually looks okay. So this isn't really doing much. Let's try turning it off entirely. Set it to 0, and we'll go from like the very top to the very bottom, and I'll go now, bonk into the edge. Try the same. I think it is doing something. It's maybe a little bit more subtle than I thought it'd be. Accelerate, let go halfway. I'm curious about this particular value right here. It's a little bit annoying that you can't really get input as such as you are. Like, I don't know what the input would be now. Okay, if we do this then. Seems to be correct. What if put a bigger range on this? Get forward velocity. Yeah, let's try it. See what we get. Make it super duper powerful. That definitely makes you stop. That's good. Burp. It makes you stop in kind of a weird way too, because the head still maintains its velocity, because I'm not doing it to the head, which I could easily do, but it's kind of like the body pulls you back. You can even see the head is kind of trying to move further away. So that's maybe a little bit exaggerated. So let's put it down to like 4, which is also a completely arbitrary number, but it's something. And when you let go, you actually stop. Not immediately though. So maybe 10 was a good number. Let's set it to 10, and we'll do the update friction thing on the head as well, just to see what that feels like. That's going to be canceling the sideways velocity on the head, which is maybe going to break our steering a little bit. It's not too bad. It stops really quickly though. I guess it's because the head is so heavy. I can swear this head is slightly crooked. Get over here, you. Like this side, I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer. Yes, you can. This side is like slightly bigger. Oh, yeah, I think the thing to do is make the head segment be a slightly longer segment as well, not just the circle. I think that would just fix that pretty well. I think it'd be less, maybe not less noticeable after all. Okay, so the sideways canceling is annoying. Update friction, bool, cancel, sideways. True, false. Oops. Yeah, so the braking force is a little bit too much right now. Still too much. That's weird. I guess it's because I'm applying it to the head now, and I wasn't before. Because the head is so heavy. Like the head is... It weighs 5. The entire body weighs 32 times 0.1, so 3.2. So the entire head is like twice the weight of the body. So it does whatever it damn well pleases to do. This is something. I really want the turning to be slightly more aggressive. We'll tweak that up a little bit. I don't want to get too bogged down in making the physics of this absolutely perfect, because they don't really need to be. And I could be tweaking this for days, and I don't have days. This feels nice. It's nice to look at. It's a little bit shuggy from time to time. I don't know if it's probably not frame rate, because this computer should be powerful enough to run this game 20 times over. Okay, now I need to remember what I changed. The brake force multiplier is 2, and this was changed to 35 instead of 25. We'll try that again. Should probably add some drag to everything as well when you're not pressing the button, because it's kind of weird that you sort of slide sideways, but that's good enough for the moment. Save everything. So this is braking for the snake. I love these commit messages, so descriptive. So what are people saying in the chat? I'm thinking I'm gonna give it a rest for tonight. It's 9 in the evening here, and I've been going since 3 o'clock, just streaming, which is it's harder work than you might think. This, but we'll do some questions from the chat before we go home. Itskariot is saying it's fun to watch something being created from zero. I have never coded anything, and it looks fun. That's good. I'm happy that I've managed to entice you a little bit to get into programming. That's nice. I like programming. I program a lot. It's very meditative for me, because I've done it so much, and it's not hard work. It's more like it's pleasant work for me. LaudaWeb has noticed that I'm not coding Haxi, and that is true. I am coding C# today. Does that mean I can use Haxi without knowing how to code? No. I mean, you can use any programming language without knowing how to code. You can use a wrench or a hammer without knowing how to use a wrench or a hammer, but it's not gonna save you from not knowing how to program. You're gonna have to figure that out. Pepperball is asking, what are my further gameplay plans? So tomorrow, I will do things. Or actually, let's go over the plan. There is a plan. It's not a very specific plan, but there's something. I'm going to go home now, and I'm going to fetch my accordion, because I have an accordion, a shitty, broken accordion. And I'm going to bring that to Nicholas' place, who is the musician. He's going to use that tomorrow to make some music for this game, which is exciting. Then I'm going to go home, go to bed, sleep till like, I don't know, 8 tomorrow morning. I'm going to come back. And then I'm going to try make some stuff to crash into. I'm going to try... one thing I really want to add is diving, so you can go under the water. There's no water right now, so I suppose I need to add water, and then some stuff in the water like boats, and that I think that's going to be plenty for all day tomorrow. So diving, stuff to crash into like boats. It's like that's the plan for tomorrow. Dadkill is wondering how long I've been developing in C#. How long have I been developing in C#? I did the Rymdkapsel version for the PlayStation Vita is in C#. That was a long time ago. That was 2013. 2012 even a little bit. Then I coded C# for like 6 months, and then but it's also Haxi, so it's like this weird hybrid version. And now I've been using Unity since like August, when I started working again after being on parental leave since the start of the year, which has been really nice, both being on parental leave and actually getting back to work again. Which brings me to Pepperball's question: how have you been doing lately? I've been doing pretty okay. Like I'm gonna make a new game now, and that's always interesting and or scary, but it's fun. Like I can do whatever I want. I have some time to figure out what I want to do. There's nothing's on fire that I need to immediately deal with or figure out what I want to do. So that's nice. I haven't really figured it out yet. I might have something. It might be this thing. I don't know. We'll see. But there is some forward momentum, so that's nice. All of this streaming stuff is going to go on YouTube later, whenever I find the time to edit this almost 6-hour long video, which is going to be just cutting out the long break. In hindsight, I maybe should have turned the stream off, but here we are. Can you explain the main idea of this snake game? You snake around in the sea, in the ocean. You're like a giant sea serpent, kinda. And there are boats, and you can crash into them, and maybe there are sailors that fall off the boat, and you can eat them. Maybe you grow longer. Maybe you can... I don't know. There's not really a game design document as such. It's more of me making it up as I go along. I'm also not entirely sure when this game jam ends. There's the matter of 12 hours that have come into question at the very end of the game jam. So we'll see. It is entirely possible that there's just like 36 hours to go all in all. So that's gonna make the game a little bit smaller, maybe. We'll see what comes out at the end of this. It's not about the end goal. It's about the journey. I think that about wraps up the streaming for today. It's a long stream, especially for poor me who hasn't been streaming for like a year. So it is it's nice to be back, and you guys will have to put up with the other people streaming for a little bit, and I'll see you in 12 hours or so. Goodbye.